What if the very thing you've tried to hide your entire life became the reason someone finally saw you? 3 seconds. That's how long it takes for someone meeting Emma Walsh to notice the scar that covers nearly half her face. 3 seconds for their eyes to widen, then quickly dart away. 3 seconds that have defined her existence for 20 years. In Seattle's tech-driven landscape, Emma had learned to make herself invisible. Head down, hair arranged to cover her left side, voice quiet enough that people rarely looked at. Hers at 27, she had mastered the art of moving through life unnoticed, but invisibility comes with a price. For Emma, that price was paid in lost opportunities, in friendships never formed, in dreams tucked away so deeply she sometimes forgot they existed. The scar, a reminder of the kitchen fire that nearly took her life at 7, wasn't something she could hide at Innovatech Logistics, where she worked in inventory management, keeping to the warehouse away from the glossy front office. "Did you see what she's wearing today?" As if the face wasn't enough to look at, came the familiar whisper that wasn't really a whisper from the break room. Lily Chen, head of client relations, didn't bother lowering her voice as Emma passed by. At 32, Lily embodied everything. Emma was not. Confident, beautiful, ambitious. With her perfect complexion and Stanford MBA, Lily seemed to take pleasure in reminding Emma of her place. Seriously, why doesn't she try to cover it up better? "There's this thing called makeup," Lily continued to her laughing audience. "My cousin does reconstruction makeup for movies. Even she could probably help, though it might require the entire kit." The laughter followed Emma down the hallway. 20 years of such comments had taught her to keep walking, to pretend she hadn't heard, to survive by becoming smaller. What Emma couldn't know as she hurried back to her spreadsheets was that 3 floors above, a decision was being made that would shatter her carefully constructed invisibility. "We're excited to announce our Tech Angels initiative," CEO Marcus Reynolds told the board. "It's time we tapped into the innovative thinking of employees at every level. The winning proposal will receive funding and present directly to our primary investor." "And who might that be?" asked the CFO. Marcus smiled. "Daniel Miller has personally expressed interest." Daniel Miller, 34, self-made tech millionaire, founder of Phoenix Ventures, and one of the most influential investors in the Pacific Northwest. His fund transformed startups into industry leaders, and his personal attention virtually guaranteed success. "Miller doesn't do corporate events," someone muttered. "What's his interest here?" "He believes innovation often comes from unexpected sources. He wants to meet the mind behind the winning idea." None of them could have imagined that the unexpected source Daniel would find most intriguing wasn't on their radar at all. That the quiet girl with the scarred face who most wouldn't recognize in the hallway was about to change everything. In the basement, Emma sat with Ruth Bailey, the 68-year-old custodian who actually saw her, really saw her. "Bad day?" Ruth asked, her eyes kind behind wire-rimmed glasses. Emma managed a small smile. "Just the usual." Ruth nodded. "When I was young, I was on stage. Broadway. Almost. Then came the car accident." She gestured to her slightly. "Crooked posture. Casting directors stopped calling overnight." "What did you do?" Emma asked. "Survived. Then lived. Then thrived." Ruth sipped her tea. In that order, Emma's phone pinged with the Tech Angels announcement. As she read, something stirred inside her. An ember of ambition long extinguished. Over the years, Emma had developed an efficiency system that could revolutionize their entire supply chain. She'd documented everything, proven it could work. But she'd never shared it. "You should submit it," Ruth said quietly. "They'd never pick mine. Does that matter more than knowing you tried?" The question hung between them, as Emma considered a truth she had avoided. Her fear of rejection had become a prison more confining than any scar. What she couldn't know was that in 2 weeks, her path would intersect with Daniel Miller's in an elevator, a chance encounter beginning with a dropped phone and ending with her world turning upside down. Would Emma find the courage to step into visibility? Could she withstand the increased attention and cruelty that would come with it? And what would happen when a millionaire investor known for seeing potential in unexpected places finally saw her? The Tech Angels announcement created a buzz throughout Innovatech. For most employees, it represented an exciting opportunity. For Emma, it triggered a war between lifelong insecurity and buried ambition. "You have nothing to lose," Ruth reminded her over tea. Emma's fingers nervously traced her laptop. "Except my dignity when Lily and her friends find another reason to laugh." "Is their laughter really what you're afraid of?" Ruth's eyes were gentle but unflinching. "Or is it that if you put yourself forward and get rejected, you'll have to face that you've been hiding all these years for nothing?" The question struck with uncomfortable precision. Emma had built her entire adult life around the belief that her scar predetermined how others would treat her. What if that wasn't true? That night, Emma pulled out notebooks where she documented her inventory management system. The elegance of it surprised even her. The workflows, analytics, and user interface design she'd created over years of quiet observation. After hours of refining, Emma submitted her proposal anonymously. The Tech Angels rules allowed this for initial screening. She closed her laptop, trying to ignore the mixture of terror and exhilaration coursing through her. Meanwhile, across town in his minimalist penthouse overlooking Elliott Bay, Daniel Miller reviewed quarterly reports from his portfolio companies. At 34, he had achieved extraordinary success. His innovations had revolutionized supply chain management before he turned 30, and his venture fund now supported the next generation of disruptors. Yet something was missing. Despite his wealth and influence, he felt increasingly disconnected from the real-world problems his companies claimed to solve. His assistant's voice interrupted through the intercom. "Mr. Miller, Marcus Reynolds from Innovatech is online. One about Tech Angels." Daniel almost declined. These corporate innovation programs were often just PR exercises, but something made him pick up. Perhaps the memory of how his own career began. A scholarship kid with a revolutionary idea that nobody important would listen to until one investor took a chance. "I'd like to modify the selection process," Daniel told Marcus after pleasantries. "I want to be present for the entire final selection, not just the winner announcement." The request clearly surprised the CEO. "Of course, that would be unprecedented, but certainly welcome." After hanging up, Daniel couldn't have explained his unusual interest. He typically delegated such engagements, but something told him this was important, that perhaps the reconnection he sought might be found in unexpected places. The following week brought a flurry of activity at Innovatech. As the submission deadline approached, employees openly discussed their entries. Everyone except Emma, who kept her participation secret. Lily made her submission the talk of the office. "My concept completely reimagines client onboarding," she announced loudly near Emma's desk. "Marcus practically guaranteed I'll be a finalist." Emma kept her head down, focusing on her work. The familiar voice in her head whispered that she'd been foolish to think her idea could compete. On submission deadline morning, Emma almost withdrew her entry. Her finger hovered over the cancellation button when Ruth appeared beside her desk. "Whatever you're about to do, don't," the older woman said. "How did you know I entered?" Ruth smiled. "Because I know you, and I know that spark when someone is finally ready to be seen." 2 days later, Emma's world tilted. An all-staff email announced the 5 finalists, and there, listed, last was Project Synchronicity, Emma's inventory management system. She stared at the screen in disbelief, her heart pounding so loudly she was certain everyone could hear it. Her project, selected. The initial elation quickly gave way to panic. The next phase required finalists to reveal their identities and prepare in-person presentations. Everyone would know it was her. She would have to stand in front of executives, in front of Daniel Miller, with her scar fully visible. Across the office, Lily was accepting congratulations for her own selection. Her eyes narrowed when she reached Emma's name on the list. "Emma Walsh? From Inventory?" Her laugh was sharp. Must be some kind of diversity initiative. What could someone who hides in the warehouse possibly know about innovation? The comment rippled through the office, bringing snickers and sideways glances. Emma felt her chest tighten, the familiar shame washing over her. That afternoon, she found herself in the elevator heading to the parking garage, desperately fighting back tears. When the doors opened on the executive floor, she kept her head down, praying whoever entered wouldn't notice her. A tall figure stepped in, focused on his phone. The device slipped from his hand, clattering to the floor. Without thinking, Emma knelt to retrieve it, her hair falling away as she extended the phone back. "Thank you," said a voice that managed to be both gentle and authoritative. Emma looked up into the most perceptive eyes she'd ever encountered. The man before her wasn't conventionally handsome, but his presence filled the elevator with undeniable energy. There was something in his gaze that didn't flinch from her scar. "You're welcome," she managed, pulling her hair back across her face. "Do I know you?" "No," Emma said quickly. "I work in inventory." He extended his hand. "Daniel Miller." Emma froze. Daniel Miller, the investor, the Tech Angels judge, was standing in front of her. "Emma," she replied, briefly shaking his hand, before withdrawing. "What's it like working in inventory here?" he asked unexpectedly. The question caught her off guard. Executives never asked about warehouse operations. "It's efficient. Could be better, though." Before she could say more, the elevator reached the parking level. Emma stepped out quickly, feeling his eyes on her back as the doors closed. The next morning brought devastating news. The finalists received updated presentation schedules, and Project Synchronicity was listed with Lily Chen as the presenter. Somehow, Lily had claimed Emma's work as her own. In the bathroom, Emma saw Lily enter, a satisfied smile on her perfectly made-up face. "Congratulations on your finalist position," Lily said with false sweetness. "Though I must say it's strange you submitted nearly identical concepts to mine." Emma turned slowly. "We both know what happened, do we?" Lily's smile never wavered. "Your idea was actually quite good, buried under amateur presentation and technical gaps, of course. I simply refined it, made it presentable." "That's my work," Emma whispered. "It's your word against mine." Lily applied fresh lipstick. "And let's be honest, Emma, who do you think they'll believe? The office charity case who hides in the warehouse or me?" The cruelty hung in the air. Emma had no proof the idea was originally hers. She'd worked on it privately until the anonymous submission. "I expected more of a fight," Lily remarked. "But then again, you've spent your whole life letting people walk all over you, haven't you?" As Lily strutted out, Emma gripped the sink, her knuckles white. In the mirror, her reflection stared back, the scar tissue pulling slightly at her left eye, trailing down her cheek to her jawline. The face that had taught her to expect this treatment. But behind the familiar shame, something else flickered in her eyes. Something that looked remarkably like anger. Emma sat in the back row of the company auditorium, watching as the fourth Tech Angels finalist concluded their presentation. The executives panel, including CEO Marcus Reynolds and several board members, applauded politely. Beside them, Daniel Miller's expression remained thoughtful. He had asked insightful questions of each presenter, diving into technicalities most investors would have glossed over. Lily was next, last in the lineup, a position she had specifically requested. As she took the stage in her perfectly tailored suit, Emma felt her stomach twist. "Good afternoon, everyone," Lily began confidently. "I'm excited to present Project Synchronicity, a revolutionary approach to inventory management and supply chain optimization." Emma watched in stunned silence as Lily unveiled detailed slides of her system, Emma's system, complete with visualization tools she had coded herself and algorithms she had fine-tuned over countless evenings. It was surreal, like watching someone claim ownership of her child. But something was off. As Lily moved deeper into technical aspects, her explanations became vaguer, her answers less precise. She clearly understood the what, but not the why of the system. She had memorized components but couldn't explain the thinking behind them, Daniel Miller noticed. His questions became more pointed. "Could you explain how your algorithm handles seasonal variability in the regional distribution centers?" Lily faltered before recovering with a vague response about adaptive supply chain dynamics. Emma almost laughed. She had spent 3 months solving that exact problem, creating a nested conditional formula that was the heart of the system. Interesting, Daniel replied, making a note. And the integration with legacy systems from the Johnson acquisition? Another vague answer, another moment of panic on Lily's face. As the presentation concluded, Lily received polite applause. But Emma could see the executives exchanging glances. They had noticed the gaps too. The head of HR announced, "We'll announce the Tech Angels winner at tomorrow's all-hands meeting." Emma slipped out quietly. She had seen enough. Her idea, presented by someone else, was likely dead in the water. Lily's inability to defend the technical details had probably ruined any chance of implementation. The thought brought no satisfaction. In the warehouse, Emma began her end-of-day inventory checks, trying to lose herself in routine. She had just finished reconciling healthcare client shipments when she sensed someone watching. Your system accounts for seasonal variability by using nested conditional formulas that adapt based on historical data patterns, doesn't it? Emma whirled around to find Daniel Miller leaning against a stack of shipping pallets, his expression unreadable. What? She stammered, forgetting to angle her scarred side away. Project Synchronicity, he clarified. You designed it to pull historical data from multiple sources and create dynamic response patterns. That's why it's called synchronicity. It's not just synchronized, it's responsive to emergent patterns. Emma stared, unable to form words. I recognized you immediately when I saw the finalist list, he continued. The elevator. You helped me with my phone and you mentioned inventory could be more efficient. Mr. Miller, Daniel, please. He moved closer. I've spent 15 years evaluating innovations. I can tell when someone is presenting their own work versus reciting someone else's. Lily Chen doesn't understand your system. It doesn't matter now, Emma said quietly. I can't prove it was mine. Actually, you can. The submission. Portal timestamps every edit and archives every version. The technical foundation was submitted anonymously weeks ago, while the version under Lily's name appeared only after finalists were announced. Hope flickered briefly before Emma squashed it. Even if that's true, it's too late. Unless there's one more presentation, Daniel said. Tomorrow morning, before the winner is announced. Emma's pulse quickened. What are you saying? I want to hear about Project Synchronicity from its actual creator. I've already spoken with Marcus. He was surprised by the evidence. Terror gripped Emma at the thought of presenting in front of the entire company. I can't. I don't. Her hand moved to cover her scar. Daniel's gaze followed the movement, his expression softening. The elevator wasn't the first time we met, was it? Emma looked up, confused. 2 weeks ago, in the parking garage, a delivery truck was blocking my car. You helped track down the driver. You were wearing a mask that day, a medical one, but I remember your eyes. Emma remembered. It had been raining, and she'd kept her mask on after a doctor's appointment. Grateful for the coverage, she thought nothing of helping the frustrated man find the delivery driver. You didn't hesitate to help a stranger, Daniel continued. But you hesitate to stand up for yourself. It's different, Emma whispered. Is it? Or have you just convinced yourself that your voice doesn't deserve to be heard? The question hit with the force of truth. For 20 years, since the accident at age 7, Emma had believed her appearance determined her value, that being seen meant being judged. She had shrunk her dreams to fit inside the narrow space society seemed willing to grant her. Think about it, Daniel said gently. The meeting is at 9 tomorrow. Your presentation would be at 8:30, just the executives and me. If you decide to come, I'll be waiting. After he left, Emma sat motionless among the inventory shelves, his words echoing at his could she do it. Stand before people with power over her career and claim her work. Show her face and mind without apology. She called the one person who might understand. Ruth, it's Emma. I need to talk. 30 minutes later, they sat in the small coffee shop across from the office, Emma recounting everything. So what will you do? Ruth asked when she finished. I don't know, Emma admitted. Part of me wants to fight for my work, but The thought of standing up there, all those eyes on me, on my... She gestured to her face. Ruth was quiet for a moment. When my accident happened, I was understudying for Maria in West Side Story. The producers called the next day and said my services were no longer required. Not because I couldn't sing, my voice was untouched, but because my body was now unsuitable for the role. I let them define me, she continued. I believed I wasn't worthy of being seen because my body didn't match their idea of perfection. I gave up something I loved because I was afraid of rejection. Her eyes met Emma's. It's been 45 years and not a day goes by that I don't wonder what might have happened if I'd fought for my place on that stage. What should I do? Emma asked, her voice small. I can't answer that for you. But I can tell you, your scar is not who you are, it's something that happened to you. What you do with your brilliant mind, that's who you are. Emma barely slept. By dawn, she had made her decision. At 8:15 the next morning, Emma stood outside the conference room, her heart pounding. Through the door's window, she could see the executives seated, Marcus Reynolds, the board members, and Daniel Miller, who kept glancing at his watch and then the door. This was her moment to choose, remain invisible or claim her space in the Kyo world. With trembling fingers, Emma tucked her hair behind her ear, fully exposing her scarred left side. Then she opened the door. The conversation inside stopped as all eyes turned toward her. Emma felt the familiar urge to hide. Instead, she straightened her shoulders and spoke. My name is Emma Walsh. I created Project Synchronicity, and I'd like the opportunity to present it properly. An hour later, Emma stood backstage as the all-hands meeting began in the auditorium. Her presentation to the executive team had gone better than she imagined. They had asked genuine questions, engaged with her ideas, and shown none of the discomfort or pity she had feared. On stage, Marcus Reynolds welcomed the company and thanked the finalists. Before we announce our winner, Mr. Miller would like to say a few words. Daniel approached the microphone, his presence commanding immediate attention. Innovation is about solving problems in ways others haven't considered, but true. Innovation requires something else, integrity. A murmur ran through the audience. During this process, we discovered that one of your colleagues stole another's intellectual property and presented it as their own. The murmur became shocked whispers. In the front row, Lily shifted uncomfortably, her face draining of color. Lily Chen, Daniel said, his voice carrying through the now silent auditorium, claimed authorship of a system she did not create and could not explain. We have conclusive evidence that Project Synchronicity was developed by someone else, someone who until today had been made to feel her contributions weren't valuable. Emma's heart pounded as Daniel continued. Innovation doesn't care what you look like. It doesn't care where you came from or what obstacles you faced. Innovation only cares if your idea solves a problem better than what came before. He turned toward the stage wing. Emma Walsh, would you join me, please? Moving as if in a dream, Emma walked on stage. The bright lights momentarily blinded her, but as her vision cleared, she saw hundreds of faces staring at her. In the front row, Lily looked as though she might be ill. Emma is the true creator of Project Synchronicity, Daniel announced. And her system isn't just the winner of Tech Angels, it's the foundation of a new partnership between Phoenix Ventures and Innovatech Logistics. The applause started slowly, then built as the implications became clear. Additionally, Daniel continued when the applause quieted, I'd like to personally invite Emma to join our team at Phoenix Ventures as head of supply chain innovation, a position created specifically to develop her vision on a national scale. Emma's knees nearly buckled. Through tears threatening to fall, she saw Ruth in the back, beaming with pride. As the audience applauded again, Daniel turned to her, speaking privately. You don't have to decide right now. Take some time to think about it, but in that moment, standing fully visible for perhaps the first time in her adult life, Emma knew exactly what she wanted. She stepped to the microphone, her voice steadier than she ever could have imagined. Thank you for this recognition and opportunity. The system we've developed has the potential to transform not just Innovatech, but any company that values Efficiency and responsiveness. She paused, drawing a deep breath. I accept the position with Phoenix Ventures, and I look forward to showing what's possible when we value ideas over appearances. The applause was deafening. As Emma stood there accepting congratulations she'd never dreamed possible, she caught sight of Lily slipping out a side door, her perfect facade crumbling. But surprisingly, Emma felt no satisfaction in Lily's downfall, only relief that her own self-imposed limits were finally beginning to fall away. The weeks after the Tech Angels announcement turned Emma's world upside down. She went from invisible warehouse worker to celebrated innovator. The attention felt surreal and uncomfortable. It's strange, she told Ruth as they packed. I wanted to be seen for so long, now I'm not sure how to handle it. Being seen isn't the same as being known, Ruth replied. Give it time. Emma was surprised when Daniel offered Ruth a role too, special advisor on employee engagement at Phoenix Ventures. I can't take charity, Ruth protested. It's not charity, Daniel insisted. You saw Emma's value when no one else did. That insight is exactly what we need. Emma and Ruth were preparing for their move to San Francisco. Daniel had helped Emma settle in, first as a mentor, then as something more personal. Their connection had deepened slowly, built on trust and shared respect. Ready for tomorrow? Daniel asked during their last dinner in Seattle. I'm nervous, but not like before. It's not about how I look now, it's about being worthy of the opportunity. That's a healthier kind of fear, he said, and for what it's worth, I think you've been underestimating yourself. He paused. From the first time I saw you, yes, I noticed your scar. But what I remembered was your eyes, your composure. That's what stayed with me. Emma blushed. You think I'm exceptional? You solved problems our consultants missed while enduring cruelty most couldn't handle. Yes, Emma, that's exceptional. That night, Emma stood in front of the mirror. The scar was still there, but now it didn't define her. It was just a part of her story. The next day brought unexpected closure. As she cleared her desk, Lily appeared. No makeup, simple clothes, her usual sharpness gone. I thought you'd be gone, Emma said. I came to get my things. I'm moving to Portland for a new job. A pause. Then Emma asked, Why did you take my system? Lily's expression faltered. Because it was brilliant and I was afraid of becoming irrelevant. I built my career on appearance and confidence, but eventually someone younger always comes along. I needed more, so I stole it. And I was wrong. You can't defend what you don't understand. She met Emma's eyes. I'm sorry. Not just for the system, but for everything. I used your scar to feel superior, because I didn't know how to face my own fears. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. I hope Portland brings you what you're looking for, Emma said. At the door, Lily turned. Your system is brilliant. Don't let anyone, especially yourself, doubt that. As she left, Emma felt a weight lift. Not full forgiveness, but release. Outside, Ruth and Daniel waited with the car. Ready to go? Daniel asked. Emma glanced back at the building where she'd once hidden. More than ready. At the airport, Emma received a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of the warehouse team gathered around a cake that read, We'll miss you, Emma. The message said, You showed us what courage looks like. Thank you, the warehouse crew. She showed Ruth, who smiled. See? You were never as invisible as you thought. As their flight was called, Daniel offered Ruth his hand, then turned to Emma. Second thoughts? Emma shook her head. Not anymore. Boarding the plane, Emma thought about her journey, not just the past few weeks, but the years spent hiding, believing her scar made her small. Ruth had once said, I survived. Then I lived, then I thrived in that order. Now Emma was ready to do the same. 1 year later, Emma stood at the podium of the San Francisco Women in Technology Conference, delivering her keynote, Innovation from the Margins. When I was 7, she began, a kitchen fire gave me a scar I believe defined me for 20 years. I thought it limited what I could do and how others saw me. I was wrong. The audience listened, captivated, What defines us isn't appearance or background, it's courage. The inventory system that changed my life wasn't revolutionary because of fancy code. It was valuable because it came from a perspective that had been overlooked. Emma reflected on the year behind her. Her system, now called Phoenix Synchronicity, had been adopted by 30-plus companies, cutting waste and costs. She was hailed as a rising star. But more meaningful was the internal shift. When we're made to feel less than, we often make ourselves small. We hide our voices. But the truth is, your perceived weakness might be your greatest strength. In the front row, Ruth smiled proudly. Beside her sat Daniel, whose eyes hadn't left Emma since she stepped on stage. Touching her scar, Emma added, "I used to hide this. Now it reminds me of what I've overcome. If you've been marginalized, your perspective is powerful and needed." After the standing ovation, Emma was approached by dozens of women eager to share their own stories. Many spoke of invisible scars and how Emma's words helped them reclaim value in their journeys. Later, walking beside the bay, Daniel said, "You've started something real." "I only shared my story," Emma replied, and gave others permission to believe in theirs. He paused. "You once thanked me for seeing you, but I didn't, not fully. You had to choose to be seen. I just created space for that choice." Emma nodded. "We all need someone who does that. Ruth did it for me. Now we're doing it for others." Together, she and Ruth had launched the Phoenix Fellowship, supporting underrepresented innovators. Their first cohort was preparing to present to investors next month. As they walked, Daniel grew quiet. "I never told you about my scar." Emma looked at him curiously. "My parents died in a car crash when I was 14. I went from comfort to foster care. I chased wealth to feel safe again. But money didn't heal anything." "What does?" Emma asked gently. "Purpose, connection. Using what broke us to build something better." "You reminded me of that." Standing under the city lights, Emma realized how far she'd come. Her scar, once a source of shame, had become the root of her greatest purpose. "Ruth once told me, 'Your scar never made anyone leave, it only reveals who's meant to stay.'" Daniel smiled, taking her hand. "She's wise," Emma laughed. "And she'll be smug when she sees this." Their laughter echoed across the water. Two people bound not just by affection, but a mission to make space for voices like theirs. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight Emma stood still in the peace of knowing her pain hadn't diminished her. It had prepared her for everything she was meant to become.